specific, kind of perspectives. We know, and, that China is definitely undergoing this rapid and even historical change in global political relationship, as you had already helped outline. And with, her efforts in the management of this pandemic situation, well, some actually sees it as a way of bringing about a possible paradigm shift in terms of the global order. Well, if I may ask your opinion, what do you think after the pandemic situation is under control of the role that China could best position herself in the scene of the global revival?
I saw the pandemic as a great opportunity for China to really shine in the world, especially by March of this year, because by that time the chance of China containing the virus was already quite good. As you know, some of you know, I'm building a 7.5 million square feet shopping center and office tower and hotel in Wuhan. And so I'm very sensitive to it. 200 of my staff were there, and 17 or 18 of them are from Hong Kong. I'm happy to say that none of them caught it, okay, thank God. So I thought that as things were coming under control, it is really a chance for China to really help the world export PPEs and many other masks and so forth to the rest of the world, and teams of experts. I heard that China did that, but it seems to me that the publicity perhaps was not there. And so what was a wonderful work was really turned into a very negative thing, because the media is basically controlled by the West, in particular by the United States. But I think that leaders and people of those countries still know that a lot of the material came from China. For example, I have some friends in Africa. So I wrote them a couple months ago. I said, can I send you some masks? And they said, oh, we already got some. I said, where from? China. So China has been doing really a lot of good things, but it's really getting a bad rap for it. But nonetheless, I really, of course, there's a lot of things called the 战狼外交 and all the kinds, some of the military, some of the diplomatic, commercial share was perhaps a little bit too aggressive, that really scared a lot of people. So it really worked to negate a lot of the good work that China did during the coronavirus. I think that as a major big country, one has to be kind to everybody. And I believe that China has tried, but as I always tell people, China is like if anybody from New Jersey, forgive me, like a Jersey girl, suddenly thrown into the big stage, Broadway stage, and it's a stage fright, and just don't quite know how to behave in the international arena. I think China has to learn in that regard.
Thank you. Just early on, you have given us a very enlightening analysis surrounding this notion of the Thucydides trap, which potentially could thrust us back into a new Cold War confrontation, coupling with, also the analysis of how fundamentally the roles and relationship between the US and the Western countries, the NATO alliance, also are developing. Are we going to have to worry? And how do you look at China continuing to develop the Belt and Road Initiative in light of, all these dynamics in the world kind of juxtaposition?
Well, obviously China has to worry, and I believe that every thinking Chinese is worrying. After all, I say to people, I said, I have never seen, okay, let me say this. America is the strongest country mankind has ever seen anytime. And all the forces of the full force of the United States has only ever been against one country once before, and that is the Soviet Union. And we know what is the result of that. And today, the United States is focusing its full force on one country. Well, 1.5 countries. Russia is a distant second. It's China. And in particular, very very vicious on one person. And I think the Chinese have to be very careful, understanding the situation today. Let me tell you a story. As many of you know, in the last 20 years or so, a lot of mainland Chinese intellectuals were really admiring the democracy of the West. And I always thought that these guys are really misguided, really misguided. I'm not saying democracy is not good, but you think that there's no problem with democracy, you're really naive. Every country, every system has its own problems. We have our own, so does everybody else. And so I think that those people, and one day I had lunch at Hong Kong Jockey Club in Beijing, and one of those guys was there, and I told him, I said, I know that you have a lot of gripes against your own government. He's Chinese, of course. But can I suggest that now is not the right time? Save it for another time. Because I've never seen the full force of the strongest country ever in mankind, focusing on one country, and in this case, one person. This is not a time for China to argue internally who's right, who's wrong. Now it's time to unite. And so I think that obviously China has to be worried. But as I said earlier, I believe that China should be able to weather the difficulty. As far as the Belt and Road Initiative is concerned, I think that all that bad U.S.-China relations may help Belt and Road Initiative, because Russia will be far more amenable to developing it, especially the one belt, the terrestrial belt. The one road, winning the sea road, okay, that's a misnomer. It should be one route, not one road, because in English, there's no road on the sea. But anyway, so the one route is really controlled by the Seventh Fleet. And there's just nothing you can do. So I think that to develop the one terrestrial belt may be a good time, but you need the government to take the lead for specific reasons, which I will not go into.
Okay, now I have a number of questions. So I try to rush through them because everybody would obviously want to have some of your, wisdom. This is actually written, and I'll read it out to you in specific. Dear Ronnie, thank you for your inspiring speech. You mentioned, and I agree, China to welcome the U.S., to talk or negotiate in a nice way. Rather than happy to be the second fiddle, do you think China also see that problems, as mentioned, including energy and food insufficiencies, and also the gap between the U.S., the gap between theirs and the U.S. on technology and military front? That is, maybe they also might know that it is still not yet the best time to play tough. This is from your student at HKUST.
The best time for what? The best time for?
The best time to play tough.
Oh, tough. Oh, I see. Put it this way. Depends on what you mean by play tough. Okay? There's something that you cannot avoid. For example, when Deng Xiaoping says 韬光养晦, lower your head, don't expose yourself, just build up your strength, right? That at that time, China depended on imported energy about 2%. Today, the number is more like close to 30%. The world has changed, China has changed. So you have no choice but to protect the sea link. And we all know that the sea link is totally dominated by the United States. So any of you watch a movie called Captain Phillips? You did, good. Tom Hanks, right? He's a captain of a tanker from the United States, and he got out of Gulf of Hormuz, if I remember correctly, from the Persian Gulf or the Arabian Gulf, and then his ship was hijacked by Somalian pirates. He called the Seventh Fleet beforehand. He can also call the Fifth Fleet, which is in Bahrain, right? Or the Seventh Fleet, which controls much of the Indian Ocean. He can call them, and eventually he was bailed out. So next time, it is not Captain Phillips. Zhang Xiang, you're no longer a professor. Next time you're Captain Zhang. So who will you call? Right? Would you call the Seventh Fleet? They are the one who, in 1996, sent the 2 aircraft carriers to Taiwan Strait. So who would you call? You have no one to call. So if you consider building a blue water navy to play tough, then I would say, what about Captain Zhang? What will happen to Captain Zhang? So the world has changed, so you have to do something about it. But on the other hand, whoever my student at the Hong Kong University is still correct. That there's still a considerable gap in science, in technology, in military apparatus, and so forth. And so still you have to buckle down, keep your head slow, right? Don't expose yourself, and strengthen your own domestic economy and society. So I think that the two are not necessarily contradictory to each other. We need both.
Okay, quickly, then I know many people are very keen to know technology is a way of shortening the distances, or, really trying to pull people around the world together. But do we see now that, it has been now more of a barrier for China-US relationship?
Well, let me answer it this way. Bill Gates said one time, he said, he is amazed. How come there are so many smart people in the world, and yet so few of them focus on studying the bad things of technology? We all know the good things of technology. We all benefited from it, and we love it. And we cannot, and technology is not something you can go back on. Once out, it's out. So we all enjoy it. But on the other hand, if you don't understand the negatives of it, you're really foolish. And if you're not prepared for it, you're really foolish. For example, to talk about clean network is a joke. And yet all the Americans believe it. We cannot have TikTok, gather information on our people, on Americans, because of privacy. I said, any one of us have any privacy today? I remember watching a video of an American journalist in Washington, D.C. with 2 iPhones, both turned off, one even on airplane mode. He went on a 3-hour trip to the National Cathedral, the library, the cafe, and the hospital. He went, after 3 hours, he went back to his office, plugged it in. It recorded everything he did. And there was another article just out a week or 2 ago on the same thing. And so there's no such thing called clean network. And yet President Trump and Pompeo are talking about clean network as if there is a thing called clean network. And only stupid fools will believe it. But almost everybody did. And so that's why I said, this is the proof that American citizens, which is supposed to be very educated, American voters and so forth, are as foolish as some of the netizens in China, thinking that they are somebody, they're not number one and this and that. Foolish. But anyway, so I think that technology must be viewed in a proper way. One final thing. To America, to the West, technology is only good. And I worry because the financial crisis is just around the corner. Every 10 years, look at history, there is some serious financial crisis happens somewhere in the world. And it's all caused, it's not caused by, it is enabled by technology. And the Western philosophy, in particular American philosophy today, is very problematic, and that guides the capital market in the world today. Bigger is better, faster is better, freer is better. After 1985, was it? The Plaza Accord, and then with the fall of Soviet Union, the Big Bang and all that stuff, technology has been unleashed, and mankind's living has been improved greatly, no question. But on the other hand, if you think that there's only good to it, then I would say listen to Bill Gates. Chinese believe in 中庸之道, the way of the middle, way of the median. I think that the West, unless they change the philosophy, it's not just the technology. Technology is just a tool. Unless they change the philosophy, which means the heads of the people that are using technology, America, the West will be in trouble again because financial crisis will come again. And if it coincided with a loss of trust in the greenback, the US dollar, then hell can break out and it will be bad for every one of us, in particular the United States.
Well, I have only time for 2 more final questions, but very important ones. One is if the mainland, if China, is going to be first in producing the vaccine for COVID-19, will it actually help China's international relationship?
Well, it depends on how you use it. Obviously, you first have 1.4 billion Chinese to take care of, right? If it started in Britain, say for example, I'm involved in a team, by the way, that is working with Britain. There's only 60 million people, so you can take care of your own people very quickly. But with China, it's 1.4 billion, right? But I think that if so, then it would be very useful if China can help the poorer countries and the most affected countries, and it has also geoeconomic and geopolitical benefits as well. So it's a win-win for China. So I hope that they will be the first, but I don't know.
Then coming back closer to home, this is, I hope, and I feel it's a good way to wrap up today. How would all the talks and discussions about such, big picture world dynamics affect ultimately the future of Hong Kong?
Do I have to answer? Yes. Okay. Very simple. Very, very simple. I've always said this, that Hong Kong's future is the mainland. I mean, as a business person, if you live in the 50s, you rely on the American business. In the 60s, Europe added, right? In the 70s, Japan added to it, right? And then eventually Southeast Asia and the rest of the world. And by the 80s, who is our biggest customer? Who is our biggest client? Whichever way you look at it, it is the mainland of China. And so if Hong Kong doesn't know how to work with China, you're really, really foolish. And by the way, politics, especially petty, small local politics, does not feed you. In fact, it may make you poor. So I think Hong Kong has to wake up and recognize that our future, whichever way you look at it, economically, politically, and many other ways, is tied to Hong Kong's motherland. And so if you don't know how to work with mainland China, there's no future as far as I can see. But if you do, then I think our future can be very bright because there's 1.4 billion people up north. They all, there's a lot of complementarity between Hong Kong and the mainland of China. And how would you that's why I say Taiwan is so foolish, so foolish. Anyway, Taiwan's economy is today is in hell, right? I purposely went there 3 times, I think, last year to study the economy. I came away with a strong impression. And if they play it right, they will be a big beneficiary. But they are not smart enough. How about us, Hong Kong people? Are we equally foolish? Or can we be a little bit smart? So, ladies and gentlemen, it's up to you. I trust in you to save Hong Kong. Thank you very much.
Thank you again. Thank you very much. Let's give a big applause to Ronnie. And I will definitely take you on your offer for the 54 lucky people that I'm going to organize who might have a chance to go visit the Museum Palace. Thank you again.
Thank you. More can come, but dinner is only 54.
Thank you so much. Okay, now we would like to please stay on the stage. Now we invited our Commissioner, Xie Feng, from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of People's Republic of China, in Hong Kong SAR to together with Ms. Ho to present a souvenir to Mr. Ronnie Chan. And also we would like to invite, our honorary life president, Princess Peggy Lam, to join us, in this photo take. Thank you so much. Okay, wishing you all have a wonderful evening, and thank you for all of you here online and also on site. And then in closing, I hope all of you have a very insightful conversation.